We're currently standing in one of the rainiest places on Earth. A small island nation in the middle of the Pacific that most people have never heard of.
Yet what brings us here sounds more like a fairy tale than real life. An ancient megacity built on the water thousands of kilometers from the nearest continental land.
Look at that!
Many think it's the eighth wonder of the world. Some even think it's the lost city of Atlantis.
But to understand the true meaning and significance of Nan Madol, let's start this video by looking at a map. So the place that we're heading to today is called Pohnpei, and it's part of the Federated States of Micronesia. I know that most people have probably not even heard about that country, but it's also understandable, because it's located on the so-called backside of the Earth, and it's very hard to spot on conventional maps. So in simple terms, this place is located in the middle of nowhere. And as you can probably understand, getting there is not an easy task. It's 12 o'clock at night, and in 2 hours our first flight leaves from Palau. Just made it to Guam. It's a good thing we have our US visa from the last visit. Otherwise, I don't know what we would have had to do. So we have arrived in Juke. But for this airplane, it's just the first stop. It's like a bus in a way that it hops from one island to another, picks up new people, puts some down, and just goes on. So it took us 12 hours to get here, and we were coming from the neighboring country. We have made it to Micronesia, and we'll now just try to walk to town, get ourselves a hotel. Can we jump in? Can we just jump in here?
Up in the back, up front, wherever.
Yeah. Being welcomed in a new country by the kind locals is definitely our favorite way to start an adventure. We were so prepared to just walk to town, which is like 2-3 kilometers, but a very nice guy just stopped their truck, and yeah, we're getting a lift now. And as wind blew the warm air through our hair, we got our first look of Colonia, the biggest town on Pohnpei Island. It was calm and full of greenery. But of course, traveling to such an isolated country comes with a whole set of new challenges. I've been doing the so-called dirty work. I've been to 3 different car rental places. None of them has a car for us. I've been to 2 different supermarkets. They don't sell large bottled waters. It literally took me most of the day to scrape together the bare minimum that we needed for our expedition to Nan Madol. I already know that we have to compromise on the gear and equipment that we can bring with us. But I hope that we get a car. I really hope. Because as you can guess, visiting the ruins of an ancient megacity in one of the world's most isolated places is the kind of thing that usually only happens in action movies. And as the sun rose on the following day, I knew that although the situation wasn't perfect, then still it was the best chance we had to accomplish our goal. Good morning, my friends. So the reason that I'm actually out this morning is quite clear. We desperately need a car. I think I found one yesterday. It's definitely not what I was looking for, but I hope it drives. And therefore, after about 10 minutes of paperwork, it was time for the big reveal. And the baby has arrived. I've never rented a flatbed before, but this is what we got, because there was just not too many options. And well, this adventure we're gonna do with a truck. Yeah, it was no secret that our ride had seen some better days. The check engine light is on, Well, let's hope for the best, I'd say. But since it was the only available option here in the middle of the Pacific, I tried to stay positive and focused on the fact that we actually had a car. And now, the hardest task of the day. Let's try to go and get Liisu out of bed. I'm actually joking, she's out. I just told her she doesn't need to come for this part. The traffic in Colonia was surprisingly pleasant. And as I pulled up in front of our hotel, Liisu was already smiling from ear to ear. Well, what do you think?
This one?
Yes. This is our ride. The locking system doesn't work from the driver's side, so can you open my door, please?
Okay.
Well, as I already said, the car had definitely seen some better days, but nevertheless, our whole expedition depended on her. I think it adds to the adventure. We're going to a rough, halfly underwater ancient ruin in the middle of nowhere, then why not go with a truck? And after only a few minutes of driving,
We have now exited the city, and right away we're in the middle of like thick rainforest.
it's pretty cool to be driving between the ocean on the left and then green high mountains on the right. Just makes you feel small, sort of. Yes, the nature here in Micronesia is truly one of a kind. Most of the interior of the island consists of ancient volcanoes that are now covered in lush rainforest. And from all sides, the island is surrounded by endless blue ocean. Yet to understand Pohnpei a little better, we decided to make a quick stop. You can see how the inside of this island, it's just full of greenery. Every place is covered in this blanket of plants. And also there's a lot of fresh water, which of course has to do with the rain, but makes pretty good environment for anybody who wants to live here. Human or animal, bird or a lizard. What surrounded us was truly stunning. An impenetrable rainforest full of sounds and smells that seemed to be taken out of a storybook. Well, won't you look at that? Yet as we all know, such amazing places never stay empty for too long. And it is estimated that first humans arrived here about 2,000 years ago. They were small groups of Pacific Islanders who of course arrived by boat.
Imagine that there's like a random island, very remote, in the middle of the ocean that was only inhabited 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. Like this region, Oceania, that's the one that was inhabited last on Earth.
But thanks to the abundance of resources, their settlement thrived.
Let's try the other side, then.
Yeah, okay.
Try
They made this island their home.
the
The
side.
boys are showing the way. It's over a meter long, like a huge fat snake or a kraken in the water, just circling us here. And to understand the true scale of this culture, it was now time to make a way back to the car. It started raining again. It's quite wet.
When you're in one of the rainiest places on Earth, it basically rains every day.
300 days every year it rains.
But the bad news is that at the time that we're supposed to arrive, it's gonna be high tide. So there is quite a high possibility that we're not even able to cross today because the water is too high. But sadly the tides are not on our side when we're here in Micronesia.
With each passing kilometer, we started to understand what we had actually gotten ourselves into.
The water looks so bloody high. Oh my god. Oh god. I'm just hoping it's gonna be swimmable.
And as minutes passed, the road itself below our wheels started to fade away. We're getting close. The roads, on the other hand, are getting worse and worse. So although Nan Madol is a UNESCO heritage site, then it's located on a tribal land. And I'm pretty sure in a minute or two there's gonna be somebody asking money to cross their land. Well, as it turns out, it was actually 3 different tribes whose land we had to cross. Hello! Nan Madol? Aha, how much is it? Hello! Wasn't me. How are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Yeah.
You can wait.
Let's go. Oh.
There's a breadfruit.
The breadfruit almost fell on my head. And then finally, we arrived. We've gotten as far as the road goes. There's a small little house behind us, and I think around their house should be the place where half of a tree just fell down. But around their house there should be the track that takes us to the ancient ruins. How are you? We parked our car and we heard that the Nan Madol road goes from here.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. $3 each. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good day. As we passed the last settlement, it was hard to contain our excitement. I can't believe that we're here. Like, I read about this place a year ago.
But we're not actually in Nan Madol yet. The first 30 minutes, it's supposed to be like a jungle hike. And then we're not sure if we have to go completely underwater or there's any chance of swimming through the canal. It's a bit scary, but it's also very exciting because I really, really, really want to see Nan Madol.
What we saw in front of us was like nothing we had seen before. A thick jungle flooded by seawater. I don't know what I expected, but it definitely wasn't this. It's like a thick jungle all around us. The sounds, the animals. Sort of feels like an Indiana Jones movie or something. Looking for the ancient treasure in the jungle somewhere. The nature around us was full of life. The whole road is full of small crabs and lizards running around. We're just deep in the jungle. Absolutely crazy. And as we pushed forward, it's just an ancient coral wall under our feet. I think it used to be part of the city here, because the whole place it's built on 92 small islands, and the name itself, Nan Madol.
It means something like in between or something like this.
And what is meant by it is that it shifts with the tide. You can get in on a high tide, and when the tide goes down, then there's ground. And of course, why it was built this way was because the ancient people that lived here, they were a group of seafarers. But we'll see, hopefully we get to show you the islands themselves as we get there. Yet it was about 15 minutes into our trek when we finally noticed the first signs of how magnificent this city actually was. And here it begins. Look at that wall. All over the forest floor you can see those giant walls and rocks. So of course nature has broken them apart, pushed them over, and also the mangroves and everything, it's grown over it, but all of this around us used to be part of the city. The structures standing out of the forest floor were many meters high, stretching as far as the eye could see. What the biggest walls here sort of remind me of our log houses. How they're stacked upon each other and like how they cross from here. And it's crazy to believe that building this place started around 1,000 years ago. But since the culture that built Nan Madol had no written language, we still don't know how exactly this place was built. And it just shows the beauty of human mind, that you don't need writings, you don't need like precision math to move rocks that weigh up to 50 tons all across the island, tens and tens of kilometers. This one here is 90 centimeters diameter and the length 5 meters. Just a massive chunk. However, luckily, there are few clues that have been found. They had quarries all over the island where these hexagon-shaped rocks were coming out of the ground. And transporting them all here, 250 million tons of rock have been brought here from all over the island. It was truly magnificent. The walls, buildings. We tried to imagine what this place once looked like. But what we wasn't prepared for was the sight that waited us at the very center of this historic masterpiece.
Okay. We are getting closer. We are getting very close. And it's high tide.
Holy smokes! Look at that! Just look at that! What stood in front of us was an intricate system of canals and man-made islands. A megalithic city built on an actual coral reef. Yet, as we feared, getting there was not an easy task. Let's see how deep it is. Yeah, that's what happens if you're here during high tide. It's getting deep, bad. I'm on my tippy toes. I should have taken all the technology off me. Now I'm in a really bad situation. The water was more than meter high, perfect for small historic vessels, yet quite the challenge for us. Holy.
At least there's one person in this relationship who thinks before doing.
She definitely wasn't talking about me.
Wait. Woohoo! I has made it! Oops-de-doo!
Welcome, my lord, to Nan Madol.
Du-du-du. So the island that we are currently on is the ceremonial center of this complex Nan Madol.
And from what we understand, that used to be the place where the kings and like high priests were buried.
But there was also rumors about like human sacrifices and other death rituals.
Holy smokes, look at that. It was a strange feeling, standing in a location that once upon a time was the most sacred place for this mysterious culture. But the thing that we know for sure is that Nan Madol used to be the center of power for Sodalyer dynasty. They ruled the island and the local tribes from here. At its peak, there might have been around 1,000 people living in the city themselves. Yet why there wasn't more is actually quite logical. Nothing grows on rock and coral. So all the like kings and leaders and priests were living here in this city, and then their subjects were actually on the island of Pohnpei themselves, where food was grown, where like everything was brought into here. What we saw around us changes the way we see the world. A masterpiece of engineering, built by people that most of the world thought was nothing more than savages. Those walls here have stood for at least 800 years. Next to a raging ocean, they've seen storms, hurricanes, probably at least 10 tsunamis. And they're still here, meters tall.
It's one of the biggest megalithic structures that have been found in the Pacific Islands.
And another thing that it's hard to fathom is that we're the only ones here. Like, we can leave all of our stuff just here waiting for us, our phones, wallets. And I'm not gonna lie, visiting Nan Madol almost felt like a dream that we didn't even know existed. And it's incredible. Like, I truly understand why people call it the eighth wonder of the world. To have a city built on the coral reef, to my knowledge, it's the only ancient city done this way. It's incredible. It shows the skills of the architects, the imagination of the people. But is it the ancient city of Atlantis? No. I think saying this is like an insult to the local people. We have clear evidence that this place here is no more than 1,000 years old, and Atlantis, well, should be a couple of thousand at least, and also Atlantis is like connected with white people. This is not the case here. It's just a testament to the creativity and skills of the people who came to live on those islands here in the middle of nowhere, and how they've survived and made this place home for 2,000 years at least. It's incredible. And finally, with heavy hearts again, we left this stunning place behind. Holy smokes. Friends, that was our story from one of the most unique places on Earth. Yet one question still remains.
What have we learned today?
First of all, we have learned that it doesn't matter what you drive, as long as it gets you where you want to go.
We have also learned that rain is just liquid sunshine when you're in a place as beautiful as Micronesia.
But perhaps most importantly, we have realized that creativity and ingenuity is something that all humans share, no matter the background or where you're from. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in a little bit less than a week. Take care and bye.